Okay, Pokemon Horizon fans, I read the one comment on my video I posted leading into episode 101 about will Roy defeat Nemona? And the comment was like, hey, you should do a battle recap, after the episode airs to give your thoughts. And to be blunt, let me put it this way, just to be completely upfront. This battle was not that good for multiple reasons. Now, for one, I actually said in my other video, I think Roy might take the W. I think he might. I know a lot of people, for whatever reason, will be upset. Like, oh, he defeated champion Nemona. First of all, Paldea is different than the previous generations in terms of being a Pokemon regional champion. In terms of Paldea, it's like, if I remember correctly, it's champion ranked. It's basically you go to the academy and you get the badges and learn about terrestrialization, and then you take the Elite Four exam. I mean, to be completely honest, the Elite Four felt more like I guess you could say, I don't know if you all had this. I think SOL tests are still a thing. Yeah, my nephew still has to take them. I think SOL is what they still call it. But essentially, back in my day of school, the core four, math, English, history, science, I imagine that like the Elite Four, four core courses. And at the end of the semester, you had to take an SOL. So that's what the Elite Four is to, my interpretation of it. Hey, the SOL is beating the Elite Four in Paldea. But then the SAT is defeating champion Gita, La Primera, the top champion or whatever. And if you defeat her, then you enter the rank of being a champion student or whatever. And that just never set right well with me, because it's like there are multiple people who have defeated Gita. I think in the library of the academy, there's a book where if you read it, it says like Penny and Arvin and Nemona and the player character and probably even more people have defeated Gita. So you have a number of students who are quote unquote champion level. But I don't think, and I'm not trying to downplay Nemona, but I don't really put her in the same tier as a Cynthia or a Leon or a Steven Stone. She's just a very powerful trainer. So to me, Roy defeating her wouldn't be that off-putting because he's been training for a year. Now, don't get me wrong, Nemona trains as well. I'm not saying she's just been sitting around doing nothing over the past year, aka the time skip to where we are right now in the anime, but here's how I look at it. Roy's growth was probably much bigger than Nemona's growth during the past year. If you want to use another anime example, I think about Dragon Ball Z after Future Trunks warned them about the upcoming android threat in 3 years. You had Goku, who was able to master, and by master, I don't mean full power Super Saiyan post type ball time chamber training. I'm talking about he mastered Super Saiyan in terms of being able to transform at will as opposed to having to be enraged to do it. And his training was with Piccolo and Gohan, meaning that after the 3 years of training, those two got gains. Well, we really don't even know how powerful Gohan was, but we know Piccolo was Super Saiyan tier even before fusing with Kame. So Piccolo and Gohan had much more to gain training with a more powerful opponent. Goku got stronger, but not by that much because he was training with two people much weaker than he was. So essentially what I'm saying is that's 3 years of training where Goku didn't grow as much as his allies did because he had really no one else to train with to challenge him. Everybody else stood to gain more for facing and training a powerful opponent, aka Goku. Now, when it comes to Nemona, she's at the academy. We know she's the #1 trainer. I mean, even Gita said that she could tell that Nemona was holding back when she battled her, and she still won. And Nemona, in the video game, she has a team made completely from scratch, so she's on the same footing with the player character. I mean, she's already what is she, like, student president or whatever? She's already top champion at school. So essentially, well, actually, Gita is still slated to be top champion, but how are you top champion when you've been defeated multiple times? Make it make sense. But essentially, Nemona purposefully she levels herself down. She's almost like Ash. Yeah. Nemona pulls an Ash from the anime where she just like, you know what? I'll start over with a whole new team. Except, I guess Pamo or Pamat is her Pikachu, so to speak. And then she gets a whole new squad. So it's debatable as to whether or not we actually face her top team. Like the team that she became champion with. I don't know. But in the anime, as soon as I saw the promo, I'm like, okay, this is probably a 2-on-2. It's going to be Crocolore and Mega Lucario versus Rabambi and her Pamat, which she's going to terrestrialize into a fighting type. And I was thinking, okay, it'll probably be something like Rabambi versus Crocolore, and Crocolore comes out on top, but not before Rabambi, sets up hazards like in the games, whether it be screens or sticky web. And then Pamat comes out and then takes out Crocolore with, I don't know, a fighting type move or, a double shock or whatever. And then it will be Pamat versus Lucario. Okay, two fighting types, but Pamat got that advantage because Lucario's part steel, but we'll just have to wait and see how it turns out. And then the promo is like, oh crap, it's going to be, a hand-to-hand combat thing. The fight really, in the promo, it took me back to Mega Lucario versus Garchomp in the Masters 8. I'm like, okay, this is probably going to be a, just physical combat, and then the last one standing wins. And I thought, yeah, it makes sense. I could see Roy taking the W, or at the very worst, tying with Nemona, leading into them having maybe a 3-on-3 or maybe a full battle at the end of towards the end of the series. Maybe by then Roy captures Black Rayquaza or he has a full squad, who knows. But this is where the episode where I knew I'm like, I'm not going to like this battle no matter what the result. It was decided they would have a double battle, and I'm like, I'm not too crazy about that. But the worst part is, okay, 2 Pokemon on the field per trainer. The first trainer to lose a Pokemon automatically loses the battle. Why did they have to do this? This is so stupid. If memory serves, this is the exact same scenario when Liko, Roy, and Dot, they teamed up with a Paldean gym leader. And as a team, so it was 2-on-1. They each had to fight an Elite Four member. And the Elite Four member had 2 Pokemon on the field. And then, of course, on the other side, you had one of the students and one of the gym leaders with a Pokemon on the field at once. And if I remember the rules correctly, whatever side lost one Pokemon first lost the battle. What is with this bullcrap? This could have been a great battle. And I don't know why, but the animation for these battles after the time jump just haven't been hitting at all. I mean, when Liko and Roy fought at the Kanto Academy, when it was Crocolore versus Meowscarada. Then most recently, Katie's Ursaring versus Liko's Terapagos. And now you have probably the most hype battle post time skip. Roy versus Nemona. It's like, yo, he's fighting a champion. I mean, obviously Nemona cooked Roy in their previous battles, which really were more about training than actually trying to win. But it's like, okay, we got Roy, he got a Mega, he got Captain Pikachu, he got Riz, he got the free jacket. This is going to be great. It doesn't matter if he wins or not. I just know he's going to put up a much better fight. But this battle just felt so stiff. I mean, sure, the exchange between Lucario and Pamat was great, but I don't know. I just felt, first of all, Palmont only used if, and look, I was watching with, I think it was like Spanish subtitles, but I've been watching the Japanese since Diamond and Pearl days. So I think for the most part, I know what moves are being called when they're called. I think Palmont only used two moves the entire match: Mach Punch and Focus Punch. First of all, if its ability is Iron Fist, that is brilliant. I don't know what its ability is, if it's that or Volt Absorb or whatever, but and I get it. Fighting type moves, super effective on Lucario, smart. But the fact that it didn't use one single electric attack, not double shot, not anything, just those two moves. And then Rabambi did, the Rabambi thing, laying sticky webs. And I did like the moment where Roy had Crocolore use Flame Charge to burn up the webbing. And it used Light Screen. And this was a clever technique, I will admit, even though it breaks the rules of Focus Punch. When Palmont was charging up a Focus Punch, Roy called for Flamethrower and Flash Cannon. Rabambi used Light Screen. So the Light Screen reduced the damage from both moves. And Palmont was able to strike both of them with Focus Punch, which is not how that move is supposed to work. If you get hit, even by the weakest attack, you lose focus. But it's the anime. It doesn't follow all the game rules. And from there, I did like the Pollen Puff strategy, where it used it to heal Palmont. And then it used it on Crocolore, who ate the Pollen Puff, assuming it would get healed, but it blew up in its mouth. And then later in the match, when Rabambi used it again to heal its partner, Crocolore jumped in there and ate it, but this time got healed, which great illustration of the move where in game, use the Pollen Puff on your ally, it gets healed. Use it on your opponent, it gets damaged. So that was some good strategy going on. But then the episode just kind of rushed things towards the end. It's like, Mega Evolution. Okay, Terrestrialization. Then they did an exchange of Mach Punch and Close Combat. And then from there, it was a final charge of Focus Punch, which would have been incredibly powerful because, the Fighting Terra. And from there, Rabambi used a barrage of Pollen Puffs to, distract its opponents long enough for the Focus Punch to be charged. So then Roy called for a Metal Claw, which, remember, wouldn't be resisted because Palmont is no longer an electric type, it's pure fighting. And it won. And I did have to freeze frame just to make sure. I'm like, okay, there's no way it could have survived that Focus Punch. And clever logic here. Metal Claw struck before the punch could land, meaning that the Focus Punch was negated because Palmont got hit first. I did like that attention to detail, even though they kind of ignored that via the light screen earlier. But yeah, Roy came out on top. And while it's cool, and he defeated I'm sorry. Just like to this day, I still question Ash's Alola League win because the Alola League felt so lackluster compared to the previous leagues. So I'm not saying he needs his championship title revoked. It's just like, I mean, him winning the Alola League to me isn't as impressive as him winning the Kalos League, even though that was steamrolled as I don't know what to get to the final battle. But does this mean Roy is a champion level trainer now? But then again, keep in mind, they took down Gita before they went to Area Zero. So I just feel like the Paldea trainers are just trash. And it sucks. I mean, the gym leaders curb stomped the team. That was pretty cool. But to see them, standing toe-to-toe with these Elite Four and champion level trainers, it's just... But I will say this. Roy winning this battle was a lot easier for me to stomach than Dot, Liko, and Roy taking down Gita and her ace, prior to the Area Zero arc. So I don't know. This battle could have been so much better. I think at the very least, this should have been a 3-on-3. And on top of that, it could have been either a whole episode to itself, or at the very least, let's say, the battle could have started during the back half of this episode, maybe the last 6-7 minutes. In the episode, if they wanted to do this for the sake of, okay, let's get the cliffhanger hype, maybe it ends with Lucario mega evolving, or Palmot terastallizing, whatever. And then the beginning of the next episode, the first like opening minutes could have been their big fight. Then in the back half of the episode, the characters could talk, yada yada yada, and move on to the next thing. But yeah, this battle should have been way better. It should have left more of an impact than it did. I think what really hurts it is the fact that we know that players of the game know Nemona has much more powerful Pokemon than Palmot and Rabambi. I mean, if I remember correctly, doesn't she have like Gudra and the Dunsparce, Lycanroc? Actually, if you could just give me 1 second, I got to go to the games here because I'm on Bulbapedia right now, and this just isn't sitting right with me. It really isn't, because I knew she had like pseudo legends, and when you go to the DLC, I think she catches one of the Kalos starters to add to her crew as well. So she is a very capable trainer. Now, granted, yeah, she could have been quote unquote holding back against Roy because she's like excited to see how far he's come after the year time skip. But okay, here we are. I'm at the section now. The League Club Room or Ace Tournament. Yeah. So she has one of the Alola starters, she has a variety. She has Lycanroc, Komao, Palmot, of course, Rabambi. Yeah, we know that. Then she has one of the Paldean starters, and she has Gudra. Man, there was so much potential here. Well, then again, maybe they didn't want to do the Dunsparce because Larry used his against Dot. Lycanroc, what's his name? Dot's uncle. He has the chubby one. Well, side note, the chubby Lycanroc just, lost weight. Well, Orthworm, that would have been cool. Yeah, I would have been down with seeing Orthworm. I know it would have been at a major type disadvantage against a fire type and a steel fighting, but still, it would have been different. I think it would have been more. Yeah, you know what? That's what should have happened. Nemona could have used 2 Paldean Pokemon. That would have been the best route to take there, but that's just my opinion. So, yeah, this fight just wasn't it as far as I'm concerned. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like and subscribe. And, wow, Roy topped Ash. Beating the champion level trainer this early in the game. Well, then again, to be fair, we know Roy is 1 year older now, so he's had time to train. Ash, I don't know what they're doing with that time scale, but whatever.